In this video, we're going to have a look at how we create that full-page banner that I've been talking about in the previous videos. So if you remember from the first video, we had that banner at the top of the page with the blurred background with a post title and summary overlaid on top of it. So to do that, we're going to be using a third-party stack again, and it's another Joe Workman stack, and the one that we're going to use is Impact, and you can get that from joeworkman.net. This is a paid for stack, so it's $24.95. If you don't already have it installed, you will need to go ahead and purchase a copy if you want to replicate what I'm about to create here. Okay, having said that, once you've got it installed, let's go back to RapidWeaver, and on the article page I've got the Impact stack installed here, and I've got it saved under my favorites. So all I'm going to do is drag and drop the Impact stack into the top of the blog post stack. So inside of blog post you need the Impact stack. And before we look at adding any of the content to this stack, what I'm going to do is update the settings. So in the Page Inspector Stack Settings tab, we are going to change the size to be proportional, and we're going to set the aspect ratio to be 10:3. We'll leave all the other settings as they are for now. Okay, next we're going to have a look at how we add a blog post image to this stack and overlay the title and summary. So if you click the plus button here, you'll see there's a few different options, and there is even a total CMS impact slide that you can choose. We're not actually going to be using this stack. This is a custom integration for total CMS, but the way I want to set this up doesn't quite work correctly with this option. So we are going to be using the standard impact image slide, and what we're going to do is use the warehoused image setting. So select warehouse from the settings here, and what you would normally do is perhaps enter a URL to an image or a path to an image on your server. What we're going to be doing is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more complex, but hopefully you'll see the benefit by the end of this video. What we're going to do is use one of the blog post macros to pull in a blog post gallery image. So if you scroll down here and you click the plus button and you go to the blog post macro hints, this will give you all of the macros that are available for an individual blog post. So the macros are a special piece of code that when rendered on a web browser, this piece of code will be replaced with the actual blog post content. So if you can see here the image paths, if you enter a % and then blog image first and then another %, that piece of code will be replaced with the path to the first blog image on your server. So that might sound a little bit scary to start with, but I promise follow along and you'll start to understand exactly how this works. What we're going to be doing, as I say, is pulling in the first blog post image into the impact stack. So scroll up here, select the impact stack, make sure you've got the warehouse setting applied, and then you need to set the link. So click here, and then in the URL field we need to enter that % and then blog image first, and then brackets and then a % sign. Okay, so set the link to that. And then what we need to do is add some foreground content or some overlaid content. So to do that, we need to check this add content option here. That will allow us to drop some stacks into this area. And what we can do is drag and drop the blog post title into here. Now obviously in preview at the moment we're not seeing the blog post image because we're using that macro. That won't be replaced until we preview this inside of a web browser. So let's do that now and see how it looks. So here we can see that we have the first image from our blog post gallery. So you can see here this image is now being applied into the header area here. Now the reason that this image is being blurred is because I've added some custom CSS to our project to achieve this. So I did this in the background before this video just to save some time. What you'll likely see is a sharp image on your project locally. So if you go to RapidWeaver and in the code settings here and CSS, you'll see that I have a few CSS, also a few custom CSS declarations here. If you want to apply this CSS to your code, the project for this course is included in the course download. So you can go in and copy this CMS and apply it to your own project if you want to, or if it's required. Specifically, what I've done here is at the bottom I've got a feature post banner, and you can see that I'm targeting the impact image and I'm blurring that with a CSS filter. So in Safari, the impact image class is applied to this image inside of the impact stack. Now we're not going to go into any more details with that in this video. If you're more interested, you can use the Safari web developer tools to inspect the code behind this and really see and understand what we're doing. However, if you just want to get the blurred background, all you need to do is use the custom CSS code included in the project. Okay, next what we're going to do is go back to the article page, and we're going to add the blog post summary. So what I'm going to do is actually remove the macro hints stack, and then I'm going to add the blog post summary here and drag that up to the top of the page below the blog post title, like so. Then what I'm going to do is change the styling of the title and the summary here. So choose the title, and what we want to do is align this center and set the style to alternate, and do the same for the summary. Then we can go back to Safari and preview that. And there we can see we're looking a little bit nicer. So we've got the white text here and the title and the summary. What we want to do is perhaps change the styling, and we need to make this a little bit more padded and perhaps add that overlay as well. So to do that, go back to RapidWeaver, select the impact stack and scroll down to the bottom. And what we're going to do is choose the overlay color, and we're going to set this to be something like a 50% grey, I think, for now. We'll try that and see how it looks. And when you preview that, you can see that the text is more easily readable. What we want to do is align this correctly, so we want the text to be in the middle of the header, and we might want to look at how we could reduce the width of the summary here. So back to RapidWeaver, and what we want to do is select the impact image slide, and we will scroll down. We'll say the horizontal alignment should be centered and vertical should also be centered. So we'll go and preview that, and there you can see that that has nicely aligned, and it's actually reduced the size or the width of the content as well to be the width of the site container. Okay, so it was as simple as that to add a full page banner with one of the gallery images blurred in the background. Just to recap before we finish up this video, the reason that the image is blurred in the background is because of that custom CSS code that I've got inside of my project here. So if you go to the CSS tab, and at the bottom you'll see 3 classes that are targeting the impact slide content. So the actual image, I'm blurring it with a CSS filter, and then the header, I'm setting a custom font size, and the paragraph, I'm doing a little bit of work there as well. So if you're following along and you're using Foundation, make sure that you have this custom CSS code inside of your project, and you should see that your header looks really nice and exactly the same as my one does here. So before we finish up, what we're going to do is publish this up to the live server and ensure that everything's working. Okay, so if we go to rapidweaverblog.com and refresh, there we can see we have that nice header with the blurred image in the background. And we can check that's working on another post, perhaps this one here. And yeah, there we can see we're using the first image from the gallery, and we're blurring that in the background of this banner area. Okay, so once you've got to this point, we're ready to move on. What we're going to do in the next video is have a look at how we add that custom avatar for the author of each post.